It's pay-per-view fight week. Belal Muhammad looks to defend his title. Yes, I did not forget the name. I remember it because the last time he fought, he joined Tyron Woodley as the only fighter over the age of 35 to win a title fight in weight classes 185 pounds and below. And now obviously Volk has joined him. He's facing Jack Della Maddalena, who has been off for quite some time. Last time we saw him was against Gilbert Burns in a fight that he was losing, but pulled it off in the third round and knocked him out. So this is a great matchup. I've been excited for this matchup. Belal Muhammad made me a lot of money his last time out against Leon Edwards. We'll see if I go back to the well. We also got a women's title on the line. Valentina Shevchenko taking on Manon Fiorot. I've been a Manon Fiorot truther for many, many years. And now the time has come to where I have to put my money where my mouth is, or if I'm jumping off the train. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card. I'm going to give you my early picks, my early leans. This is before any tape study. This is basically just what I initially think of every matchup based on what we know of the fighters in the matchup. So I just want to get that out there so you don't just go running with everything I say. I'm also going to do a live breakdown like we have been for the past couple of weeks on Monday or Tuesday night, probably Tuesday night. And we're going to break down the card with the chat live. And you can get some of my thoughts there after I get some more tape study in. Then we got the official picks on Wednesday, and those are the gun to your head type of picks. We're going to go through UFC 315 entire card, but before we do that, we always have to recap how last night went, and it was not good. Brace yourselves, boys. Brace yourselves. I know it's ugly. But every streak, every hot streak must come to an end. And honestly, I look back at this card and I say, I'm glad we took our loss because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really make that big of a difference in 2025 because we've been absolutely crushing it. We take our loss and we bounce back. Overall, on the sportsbook plays, we were down 6.6 units. We hit one bet on the sportsbook plays, and most of them were all plus money. But yeah, it just did not go well. The reads, some of them were okay. You know, some of these bets I can live with, but a lot of them I would not make again. So it was a bad night for the sportsbook plays, minus 6.6 units. And then on the DFS plays, we did pick up 2 units. The DFS was pretty solid. Overall, we went 2-2 on our 2 pick entries for a 2 unit of profit, and we only missed 2 out of the 8 plays that we put in. So overall, pretty solid there. Would have liked to pick up another one because, you know, Marina Rodriguez, higher than 13.5 minutes of fight time, was about minus 300 on the sportsbook. So I thought we got great value there. She just couldn't stay alive with Julian Robertson on top of her. And I thought Cameron Smotherman was just a little bit too gun shy. Like he's a volume guy, and maybe it was the camp switch that made him kind of tone down his volume. But either way, we lose those, but we did pick up 2 units of profit on DFS on UFC Des Moines. Apologize if I'm a little tired. Yesterday was my dad's celebration of life, so it was a very long day. I didn't really get to watch the fights too in depth, but I did watch them. I just wasn't like super in tune. And it's been a long past couple of days, so I'm a little bit tired, but we're here giving you the content, and hopefully you can get something out of it. So overall, on UFC Des Moines, we're down 4.6 units of net profit. But as I said, doesn't really hurt too much when you look at the total in 2025. We're still positive 36.95 units. We were on a 7-week winning streak, and then we took our first loss. If you want all my bets for this week, you can jump in the Home of Fight Picks premium membership. Use code HeyJive. For pay-per-views alone in 2025, we've been absolutely crushing it, been profitable in all 4, positive 22.42 units on pay-per-views in 2025. And 2 of our biggest nights were on the most recent pay-per-views, UFC 313 and UFC 314. So again, if you want all my bets, jump in the Home Fight Picks premium membership. That's where you're going to get all of them, and that's where you're going to get the DFS plays earlier than the public does. I'll put those in on Monday or Tuesday, whenever they drop, and I send them out to you guys so you get the lines before they get bumped. Link down in the description below to get all the bets. But I'll let you take a look at this as well. I'm going to take myself off the screen so you can see the whole thing. I always want to be transparent with you guys. So here's the 2025 results at the macro level. All the total bets, units returned, ROI, average bet, DFS win, sportsbook win, net win, It's all right there. You can pause it and check it out, but I just want to be transparent with you guys. As always, appreciate y'all. Let's get into the breakdown for UFC 315. So this fight, I believe, just got Jung Young Lee just got a new opponent. He was supposed to face Gavin Tucker. Daniel Santos steps in. And the biggest question with this fight is going to be, does Daniel Santos actually make it to the fight? Because that has been a big problem for the guy. But I do think he's a pretty solid fighter. I was going to fade him last time out against Davey Grant. I thought Davey Grant would be able to win a lot of minutes at range, and Daniel Santos would be having trouble getting through that range. And I think Davey Grant's just a little bit underrated. His age is probably the reason why he was the underdog there. Daniel Santos entering his prime, but he hasn't been all that active. His UFC wins aren't super impressive to me. The win against John Castaneda was cool, but he was getting pieced up early on in that fight and then just battled back through it. And then the win over Johnny Munoz is like, it's all right. Jung Young Lee, on the other hand, I think he's a very talented fighter, and he's coming off a brutal knockout loss in round 1 against Haider Emil. But Haider Emil looks to be just an absolute beast, man. He is an absolute beast, so I can't really knock him too much for that. The main takeaway I would have from that is that he got into a firefight. Like, when he got hit, he just wanted to start swinging, and in MMA, that's not the best recipe, to win a lot of fights. So you got to take that into account, even though the fight didn't last very long. It was just the fact that, they started to hit each other, and they just went bonkers, and he did not get the best of it. But overall, I think the guy is very talented. I mean, he's a solid frame for the weight class, 5'10", 73-inch reach. I think he's fast. I think his grappling is solid. And I think he should be a favorite here against Daniel Santos. I've never been super high on Daniel Santos. He's your classic shoot-to-box guy. He's a guy that's just going to walk into the fire, rely on his chin, try to put a pace on you, and maybe mix in some grappling here. His defensive grappling is going to be solid. His jiu-jitsu is solid. Overall, his offensive wrestling I don't think is anything to write home about. Defensive wrestling I don't think is great either. I think these shoot-to-box guys are just going to bring the fight to you, and they're just going to react to what's going on. So that's what he brings here, and if he can put the pace on Jung Young Lee and kind of get into that type of firefight, then it gets a little bit interesting. But overall, skill for skill, I think Jung Young Lee is probably the better fighter. You just got to come in here with a good game plan. If he can stick that jab out there, he's got a nice snappy jab, maybe mix in a couple takedowns, win minutes that way, I think he can get it done. So my early pick is going to be Jung Young Lee. I got to watch a lot more film on this one with the opponent change. Short notice for Daniel Santos. Jung Young Lee was training for this date, so there's a little advantage there. But I'll take Jung Young Lee for the early pick, and let's move on to some light heavyweights. We got Modestas Bukauskas taking on Ion Cutelaba. Modestas Bukauskas. I've never been sold on this guy, okay? But he keeps proving me wrong. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. One was against Marcin Prachnio, where it was kind of a back-and-forth fight. Bukauskas hurt him a bit. Then he got caught with that head kick, and then ultimately took him down and submitted him in round 3. And then he faced Rafael Cerqueira. And that dude is dead to me. I actually bet on Rafael Cerqueira there, which is just, it's disgusting to look back on some of these bets that you've had where you're playing big dogs and then they get knocked out in round 1. And like, you kind of just wish you would see a little bit more of the fight play out. But either way, I got to give him his credit, man. He has really rounded out his skill set. I've always thought he was a little bit low volume, but it seems like he's being a little bit more active as he's grown into his MMA career. And I think his overall game as far as the grappling has kind of shored up as well. So I got to give him his credit for the improvements that he's made. He looks a lot different than he did, in his first stint in the UFC. So that's good to see from Bukauskas. On the other hand, Cutelaba, you know what you're going to get from this guy. It's going to be all action. He's going to go in there throwing big boxing combinations, maybe chopping some hard leg kicks. He's going to be able to take a shot. Sometimes he does get hit, and he doesn't take it the best. He'll start to wobble around, but he's not a guy that's going to look for the door. If he's getting hit with some shots, he's going to either fire back or he's going to shoot a takedown. And his takedowns are usually his best asset, but he doesn't always use it. In this matchup, is he going to use his takedowns? That's the question. He has been able to use it in the fight against Ivan Erslan to where it did benefit him, because I don't want to say he wasn't losing on the feet, but the extra little mix-in of the takedown helped him win rounds. If he can go into here against Bukauskas, get some takedowns, do some work on the feet, get Bukauskas a little bit hesitant on the feet to throw his hands because the level change could be coming, then I think Cutelaba can win here. I think Cutelaba's fought a much higher level of competition. Bukauskas is on a nice little streak. I mean, he's 4-1 in his last 5. The only loss was to Vitor Petrino, where he got knocked out. But the wins, I just think, are so low level. They're so low level that I think Cutelaba's competition is just much, much higher. So I'm going to go with Cutelaba here. I think he's the more proven guy. I do think Bukauskas has made some improvements, but I just don't know that it's enough to beat a seasoned guy like Cutelaba, who is dangerous on the feet, is dangerous on the ground. The takedown threat is always there. So I'll take Cutelaba for the early pick here. Going to have to watch a little bit more film on it, but the early pick is going to be Cutelaba. Let's move on. We got Navajo Stirling taking on Ivan Erslan. And, here's the undefeated fighter, Navajo Stirling, where the undefeated fighters in 2025 is just not looking good. And maybe this is another spot where Navajo Stirling takes his first L and he continues the trend. But overall, I look at their skill sets, and I think Erslan has some power in his hands. I think his grappling it's not offensive at all. It's all defensive. And I don't know that he's going to, get taken down and held down for long periods of time or get taken down and get insta-subbed. I don't think it's on that level. I think it's just a thought in his brain to where he has to be a little bit too cautious on the feet because he knows a level change could be coming. Now, Navajo's not really a guy that's going to go in there and shoot a bunch of takedowns, but he does have the ability. And if there is somebody that is going to look to grapple in this fight, I think it would probably be Navajo Stirling. But Sterling's a kickboxer at his base. He's a huge dude for the weight class, 6'4", 79-inch reach. He's got good power. Seems like he's got a good chin, solid volume. So, I got to go with Navajo Stirling here for the early pick. Ivan has power. His boxing is solid. His jab is solid. But I just don't know that he has a full enough MMA game to win a lot of fights in the UFC. And that kind of got exposed against Cutelaba. Cutelaba is there to be hit. And Erslan at times was just too hesitant out there. Maybe it was just because it was his UFC debut. Maybe he comes back here and he looks better. But for now, I got to go with Navajo Stirling. I think he can win minutes on the feet. Much better kicker. Navajo's going to be chopping those leg kicks, and Erslan's not really a big kicker. He's more just of a boxer, strong, powerful boxer out there. I think Sterling's just got more tools in the toolbox to get the job done here. So I'll take Navajo Stirling for the early pick. But, man, undefeated fighters, man, in 2025, it's just not looking good. So buyer beware. Let's move on. Women's MMA, 125. Jessica Andrade and Jasmine Jasudavicius. Now, Jasmine has been on a tear. And I got to give her a lot of credit because when she came into the UFC, she was not a spring chicken. And she was kind of just this tall, gangly fighter that could kind of do it all, but didn't really do anything that well. And now she's just really stuck to the wrestling, grind you out type of game plan. And she is good at it. She is very good at it, and she loves fighting in Canada. They have kind of set her up here for a matchup where if you beat Jessica Andrade, then you can start looking at the top 5. And it's a matchup where stylistically I think it should favor Jasmine Jasudavicius because her game plan is to take you down, to grind you out, tire you out to where, even if she doesn't finish you on the ground, the next round starts on the feet, but you're a little bit too tired. You're thinking about the takedown in the back of your head. Even if you're an elite, powerful striker like Jessica Andrade, you're just going to be a little bit too tired, a little bit too gun-shy to really let your hands go because Jasmine's going to be looking for that clinch. She's going to be looking to take you down, and she's huge. She is huge. She's 5'7", 68-inch reach. Jessica Andrade is 5'1", 62-inch reach. Like, Jasmine's not a great striker. She's not at all. But she has a solid enough jab. She has solid enough kicks from the outside to be effective and win minutes, and she's tough as shit. She can take a shot. She doesn't give a fuck. She's just going to keep walking you down. She wants to get to that body lock, drag you down to the ground, and put you through hell. So I'll take Jasmine Jasudavicius here for the early pick. Don't really see this one changing up because, we've seen throughout the past where Jessica Andrade's weakness is, and that's getting taken down and getting put on her back. So stylistically, it looks like it should be a Jasmine Jasudavicius win. She'll be the early pick, and we can move on. Mike Malott taking on Charles Radtke. Mike Malott, the golden boy of Canada. You know, I like this guy, Mike Malott, but I also at times I'm like, he's pulling out these Michael Chandler type of phrases, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, you're not on that level. You can't be out here just being super inspirational. I mean, he can do whatever he wants, but you don't have to react to it the way that he probably wants you to. I think he's a good guy, though. I think he's a very skilled fighter. At times, I don't know that he's like a true born fighter. Like, I don't know that he wants to go in there, get into a scrap, get into a knock you out, drag you out type of brawl. And I don't know that Charles Radtke's going to bring that, but I know Charles Radtke is tough. I know Charles Radtke is tough. He is strong. He has power in his hands. He has a good grappling base. And I see him as a big underdog here. And he's a fellow Wisconsinite. And there's no bias towards my fellow Wisconsinites. But I got to believe Wisconsin tough here. And Charles Radtke's going to give Mike Malott a run for his money. Now, Mike Malott has really sharp boxing, and if he touches you in the right spot, he could put you down. But I don't think he has one-shot knock you out type of power. Now, he's done that before. I don't think he's going to do that to Charles Radtke. I don't think Charles Radtke has a bad chin by any means. I mean, the only knockout loss he suffered was against Carlos Prates, and it was a knee to the body. So maybe Mike Malott wants to throw some knees to the body, but I don't really see that in his bag. I think on the feet, it'll be competitive. I think Charles Radtke might have more power. I think he's got sharp enough boxing to deal with Mike Malott. Now, Mike's got some nice leg kicks that might give Charles Radtke, some issues trying to enter, and he just gets hit with a leg kick, and then Mike Malott skirts out the way. Wrestling and grappling, I would say Mike's maybe a little bit more dangerous as far as locking something up, but Charles Radtke jiu-jitsu is solid. I think Charles Radtke's wrestling is about on the level of Mike Malott, so I see this as a pretty close fight. And I wasn't super impressed with Mike Malott's last win over Trevin Giles. It was kind of a setup spot. Trevin Giles is as chinny as it gets. And Trevin's not a bad fighter, but, if you're going to be a top 15 or a top 25 guy, you should probably be knocking out Trevin Giles. Probably should. And he just looks so gun-shy in there. Maybe it's just, coming off his first UFC loss, where he was winning the entire fight, he gassed out and he lost to Neil Magny, that he didn't want to gas himself out again. But that shows you, man. Like, the guy is a little bit sketched about gassing out there. And Charles Radtke, I think he's got solid enough cardio to go 15 minutes to where he's not going to have to really worry about it. So that's another aspect. So I think there's a lot of aspects to where Charles Radtke could be live here as a plus 180, plus 200 underdog to pull off the upset in Canada. So my early pick is going to be Charles Radtke. I got to look at it a little bit more. But I just think he's too well-rounded and too tough to, just fall over for Mike Malott. So early pick's going to be Charles Radtke. Let's move on. This fight is absolutely insane. Okay, I just got to put it out there. We got a 3-fight losing streak for Marc-Andre Barriault. We got a 4-fight losing streak for Bruno Silva. And if you go back further, it looks even worse. I think he's like 1-6 in his last 7. Something like that. And honestly, I thought Bruno Silva was cut. I thought he was cut, and I'm surprised he's still here. I think this dude just needs money because the last 2 or 3 performances he has had, you just watch that man fight, and you're like, he does not want to be here. I don't even know if he's training. Specifically, his last fight against Nardiev, he looks so slow. He looks so disinterested. It honestly looks like he doesn't even want to win the fight. There's a lot of red flags with Bruno Silva. And there's red flags with Marc-Andre Barriault. But the red flags aren't motivation. They aren't effort. They aren't, is he training for this camp? The red flags just come down to his chin. That's all it really comes down to. And Bruno Silva, you're going to look on his record. You're going to see he has a bunch of knockouts, which is going to be scary, obviously, going up against Marc-Andre Barriault, who has shown a poor chin, especially as of late. So this fight is 100% red flags, but I'm still going to go with Marc-Andre Barriault just because I haven't seen anything from Bruno Silva in his last few performances that actually makes me think he wants to be there. I'm going to have to look at some interview, some training footage of him just putting in work, looking absolutely determined to get my mind out of that frame where Bruno Silva just doesn't care. He just doesn't care anymore. So I got to go with Marc-Andre Barriault. I mean, if you want to break down the stylistics of this, it's like Barriault's more of a volume guy. Bruno Silva's more of a knockout puncher who has pretty poor takedown defense, poor ground game. Barriault's a little bit more well-rounded, but I don't know that either guy is really going to be looking for takedowns. So it's probably a kickboxing battle where Bruno Silva has the power, Barriault has the cardio and the volume. So I guess I'll just go with Barriault, man. I'm going to look at it a little bit more, but this fight just has red flags all over it, and I don't even know if I want to dive into that type of stuff. So Barriault's the early pick. Let's move on. What looks like is the feature prelim right now is Brad Katona and Beksat Almakhan. All right, Brad Katona, I don't even know if I should say we love him, but we also do kind of hate him just because he's not threatening at all in there. Let's just say it is how it is. He's not threatening at all. He's not going to go out there and get some finishes, but you can count on Brad Katona to have a solid 15 minutes of cardio. You can count on him to have good offensive and defensive wrestling, solid output, and just a solid will to win. So, I mean, there's things you can like about Brad Katona, but he's just never going to blow you away with some type of great performance. He's just a well-rounded guy who's tough, durable, and is always going to give you he's going to go fight for your money. That's what it is. But Beksat Almakhan, on the other hand, one fight in the UFC was a loss to Umar Nurmagomedov, and now he's a favorite. I don't know that I really agree with that because we've seen many times in the UFC where a guy faces, Umar fought for a damn title, but at the time he hadn't even fought Corey Sandhagen, so he was somewhat unproven, but everyone kind of knew he was going to fight for a title one day. So he fought a huge name in his UFC debut, and he dropped him, but he pretty much got smoked. Like that's just what it comes down to. He dropped him in round one, but for 13 minutes of the fight, he was on his back defending the wrestling from Umar. So maybe you look at that and be like, well, he dropped him and he didn't get finished. That's a win. Like that's a win as far as looking at a performance goes, because he wasn't supposed to win that fight, and now he's all of a sudden good. If you look at this guy's regional record, he's not beating anybody good. I made a video before he fought Umar Nurmagomedov. This dude was fighting on rugs. They had literal rugs in a cage. That was the mat. It was like an old rug from probably back in the 1600s of Kazakhstan. It just made its way to an octagon in some bumfuck in Kazakhstan. I don't know what it was, but this dude's level of competition on the regional scene, I don't think is that good. And then he comes in the UFC and he gets smoked, but he drops Umar. Now he's minus 180 to Brad Katona, who's he's not something crazy good, but he's 14-4. He has a lot of UFC level experience. He's not going to get knocked out. He's not going to get submitted. This fight's probably going to go to a decision where Brad Katona is going to be competitive. So I got to go Brad Katona, man. I got to go Brad Katona. I just think from what we've seen, he's the more well-rounded fighter. Maybe Almakhan can go in there, get a bunch of takedowns, and have Brad Katona on his butt, just working and working and working. But honestly, I just don't see how you can hold down Brad Katona for long periods of time because he's just relentless. So I like Brad Katona here, man. I'll take Brad Katona for the early pick. I definitely want to watch a little bit more on Beksat just to see, how he would fight against a non-Umar Nurmagomedov type of guy. But from what I saw when I was preparing for that fight with Umar, I was like, I'm not super impressed with this guy. I think he's okay, but he's minus 180 against Brad Katona. I'll take the little dog shot here for the early pick on Brad. Before we get into the main card, let's check out Homo Fight Picks. That's where you're going to get every single one of my UFC bets and PFL bets. 2025, we're positive 36.95 units. Code HeyDrive to get all that. Link down in the description below. If you need a sports book, you can jump on Wager Attack. It's available in all 50 states. They got thousands of props you can go through. Maybe not thousands. Maybe around 1,000. Hundreds, at least, of props you can go through for UFC bets. Whether you want to bet on exact submission method, fight to go the distance, fighter A to win by knockout, whatever it is. They got it all. You get a 200% free play bonus. There's a link down in the description below. When you sign up, you deposit. If you deposit $100, you're going to get $200 in free play. And if you deposit that $100 with crypto, you're going to get $10 added to your cash bonus. So a 10% cash bonus on crypto. It's available in all 50 states. It's a sportsbook I use on a weekly basis. You got to have many sportsbooks in your arsenal. Always looking for the best lines. Link down in the description below. Sign up with Wager Attack. Get that free play bonus and get another tool in your arsenal. And if you want to support the YouTube channel or just me in general, you can go to ProfessorParlayShop.com. You can buy one of my t-shirts, Professor Parlay shirts, very high quality, great design, black and white. You're going to cash all your parlays if you wear it. That's a joke. But if you want, you can use code YouTube. You get $10 off. It's only available for 2 checkouts. So if you're watching this video early and you want one of these shirts, go to ProfessorParlayShop.com. Use code YouTube. You get $10 off your order. It's only available for 2 people. Very limited time offer. Link down in the description below, ProfessorParlayShop.com, to get your merch and support the channel. Let's get into the main card. Now, there's 5 fights on a pay-per-view main card, and one of them just fell off today, and that was Benoit Saint-Denis and Joel Alvarez. So we only got 4 fights on the main card to break down right now. I believe Joel Alvarez pulled out, so maybe they're going to get Benoit Saint-Denis a replacement opponent. I hope they do. But I guess opening up the main card right now is going to be Alexa Grasso, Natalia Silva, which is okay, but, you know, we got 2 women's MMA fights on a main card. It's a little bit tough. It's a little bit tough pill to swallow, but Alexa Grasso, I don't want to say she's exciting, but she is a good fighter, and same with Natalia Silva. So I got to give them their respects there. Alexa Grasso, trilogy with Valentina. She lost last time out to Valentina in a spot where it should have been an absolute hammer spot on Valentina. I did bet on Valentina. She was like plus 120, plus 130. We're getting underdog odds on Valentina, where Valentina was like minus 900 in the first fight when she lost. Then they went to a draw, and then she was plus 120 or something like that. Beautiful spot. When you look back on it, I wish I hammered it more, but at least I did bet on it and made some money. But either way, what happened in that fight? The grappling got exposed. You know, it has always been a weakness of Alexa Grasso is her getting taken down. And Valentina just went into that fight and said, I'm way better at wrestling than you are. I'm going to win this fight by any means. It might be boring, but I'm going to win it because I'm better at wrestling because you have no takedown defense. And she does like to threaten with submissions off of her back. And she threatened a couple times, but, you know, at this level, you just can't do that. Now, luckily for her, for Alexa, Natalia Silva is not exactly going in there shooting takedowns, and she hasn't really shown much ability to do so. But she has shown a massive ability to outstrike girls at a very high level. I mean, Natalia Silva's outside work is, I don't want to say flawless, but she makes it look flawless. She is a very good kickboxer who is fast. She knows her range. She has a good ability to fight off the back foot. And she does have some power in her shots. I mean, sometimes when I look at this girl, I'm like, she might be on the sauce. She might be on the sauce because she's got veins coming out of everywhere. She's got this like cute, innocent looking face. But when she gets in there, she's kind of nasty. Now, she's on a huge winning streak. Most of the losses she suffered was earlier on in her career. And ever since she's been in the UFC, she's been just dominating girls. I mean, early on in her UFC career, she beat Jasudavicius, and it was a blowout. And Jasmine has really, you know, we talked about her earlier. She has really shown she is top 10 material in the flyweight division. So it's not like Natalia Silva's fought nobody. I mean, she just beat Jessica Andrade. She beat Viviane Araujo. So she's fought some solid girls coming up. She's a favorite here against Alexa Grasso, which I can kind of see why, but you also have to take into account, you know, Alexa Grasso's weakness has always just been the wrestling. Natalia Silva is not going to wrestle. So this is a stand-up battle. Natalia Silva, does she outstrike Alexa Grasso 6, 7 out of 10 times? Maybe. I would probably say so. Like, I think she's just way better at range. You know, Alexa Grasso's not much of a kicker. She's more of a clean boxer that wants to put some pressure on you, but she's still able to be effective at range. I'm still going to go with Natalia here. I think she's just too good from the outside, where her kicks are sharp, hard and effective where it's going to be tough for Alexa to get in the range that she wants to. And when girls get into the range, into the boxing range with Natalia Silva, she has such fast hands, and then she just exits. She just exits and she's out. So I think it's hard. It's going to be hard for Grasso to get a game going here. And it's only 15 minutes. Grasso's used to being in 25-minute fights where she's been for the last 3 times. So I think Natalia Silva probably wins 1 and 2. Maybe Grasso can come on late, but I think Natalia gets it done. I'll take her for the early pick. Jose Aldo, Amin Zahabi. I don't know why this matchup is being made, but that's not why we're here. We're not talking about why the matchup was made. It's always just blows me away what they do with Jose Aldo. But either way, Jose Aldo, 38, coming off the loss to Mario Batista. Everyone knows it. Everyone hated it because what happened in that fight was Mario Batista won the fight because he was holding him up against the cage. And yeah, we can all be pissed at Mario Batista, but at the end of the day, Jose Aldo was just way too content to defend takedowns, because Batista wasn't even really looking for the takedown. Defend takedowns up against the cage and then land a few shots and expect to win the round. That's the big deal with Jose Aldo. I mean, at times he's just too patient in there. And considering he's 38, almost 39, maybe I can see why, just because his cardio has never, been off the charts. He doesn't want to gas himself out. And he's probably not looking to go out there and get into, some wars at 39 years of age. Zahabi's no spring chicken either, though. He's 37. But he's on a long winning streak. And I don't want to say it's like super impressive, but considering where he was at, I think it's impressive how far that he's come. He wasn't really much, and then he's had this kind of late resurgence. So it's good for him to get a nice matchup against Jose Aldo. Zahabi, solid striker who doesn't get hit all that often. Jose Aldo, obviously a great striker with hard or fast, good boxing combinations and solid kicks. But since he's come back from his retirement, I don't really think he uses his kicks all that well. I think he's more so just fallen in love with the boxing because he went over to boxing, kind of improved that part of his game, and then came back to the UFC. And now I think he's just kind of dead set on boxing. And Zahabi's not much of a kicker either, but Zahabi's, I don't even know how he fucking does it, man. Like, he's just an effective striker. He doesn't make mistakes on the feet. He's going to pop you with a jab, the 1-2. He's not going to really allow you to get downhill on him. And he's just going to outpoint you. And can he outpoint Jose Aldo? I kind of think he can. Because Aldo at this age, he's just so low volume that I think Zahabi's probably going to steal rounds based on just being a little bit more active. So early pick is going to be Amin Zahabi. But I can tell you right now, this is one that I'm going to be watching a lot of film on, because Jose Aldo's minus 225. And at 30, almost 39 years of age, do I want to be back in Jose Aldo as a minus 225 favorite? Probably not. So I'm going to look towards the Zahabi side and see if there's some validation there. And then we'll come to a conclusion. But for now, Zahabi's going to be the early pick. All right, co-main event. We got Valentina Shevchenko, Manon Fiorot. As I said at the beginning of the show, I've been a Manon Fiorot truther. And she's been the truth to me because I think she's huge for the weight class. 5'7", 66-inch reach. And one of the biggest things that jumped off the board to me when she fought Erin Blanchfield was she is so much bigger than Erin Blanchfield. And Blanchfield is more of a grappler. I'm like, there's no way she's going to be able to take her down. So it's going to be a striking battle, and Manon Fiorot is probably going to outstrike her. And she did. She did outstrike her. She defended all the takedowns. But I was left with a little bit to be desired. Let's just say that. Because I know Erin Blanchfield is very tough. And that's part of the best part of her game, is that she's very tough and she's willing to, go into the pocket and exchange and then look for takedowns. But I thought Manon Fiorot would outstrike her more definitively. And mainly on the fact that, Manon would be so far ahead in the striking that she would just pull away with it. And it was a 50-45. But there's just times where I'm like, you're so much better than this girl. They both kind of look sloppy at times, which was a big eye opener. So it kind of made me reevaluate. And I look at Shevchenko, she's 37, so she's 2 years older, which isn't that big of a difference. But Shevchenko has all the title fight experience in the world. She has a great, well-rounded game. Is the striking that far off? I don't really think so. And I think the Tapology had the line wrong here, because I think Fiorot is minus 155 and Shevchenko's plus 130. That's why I'm kind of building towards a possible case towards Shevchenko. Shevchenko, she can strike with anybody. She can strike with anybody. She has really solid offensive wrestling for a girl that was purely a kickboxer, earlier on in her career. I think she could compete with Manon Fiorot. And that sounds bad, because I'm like, she can compete with Manon Fiorot. She's the champ. Of course she can compete with her. But Fiorot's the favorite right now. And I just don't know that I can get behind that. I don't know that I can get behind it, because I think it's going to be competitive on the feet. I think Shevchenko, if anybody can take down Fiorot, Shevchenko could take her down. Fiorot she's so big and she's so strong in the clinch that it's so hard to take her down. But Shevchenko has so many tools in her arsenal to get the fight to the ground that it's another aspect that I don't think Fiorot has really faced. She's 12-1, 13 MMA fights. Shevchenko's 29. This will be her 30th MMA fight. And I don't know off the top of my head how many title fights she's been in, but it's a lot more than Manon Fiorot has had in her career. So I think I'm jumping off the train here, boys. I think my early pick's going to be Valentina Shevchenko. I got to look at it some more, obviously. But, if Valentina's going to be an underdog here, I'm going to have to really look at that one and see if there's a case to be made as an underdog shot. I've been a Fiorot truther, but I was impressed with her last performance, but there was a little bit left to be desired, considering also how early Blanchfield was in her MMA career, how young she is. I think there's still a lot of improvements that she can make. And Fiorot's kind of, she's a finished piece. Like, she's not really going to go out there and see any improvements. And I'll wrap this up because I'm yapping about women's MMA. But there was one thing that I said before that Blanchfield fight, is that Fiorot, she's very susceptible to the head kick because she's a southpaw and she'll lean off to this side. And I thought Blanchfield would be throwing some head kicks because it was southpaw versus orthodox. Shevchenko is mainly a southpaw, but she's got some great kicks, man. She's got some really fast kicks, and maybe that head kick could be coming into play. Shevchenko's going to be the early pick, though. Let's move on to the main event. What we've all been waiting for. Remember the name. Belal Muhammad taking on Jack Della Maddalena. Belal Muhammad, I think it has hit, I don't want to say hit his peak, but considering that this man is the welterweight champion of the world, I think it's amazing, because I look at Belal Muhammad, I don't see any type of God-given skills. I don't see any type of natural abilities to go out there and just be dominant in MMA. I think he's gotten this from living the sport, from being one of the hardest workers in the room, or the hardest worker in the room every single day, and just having the championship mindset to go out there and get it done. So I got to give him props for that, because I'd look at the guy and I'm like, I don't think he should be a UFC champion, but he has absolutely earned it. He's on a long winning streak, and he has a ton of momentum coming off a underdog win against Leon Edwards. But we just saw Leon Edwards get exposed by Sean Brady and finished. So that's something that Leon Edwards has struggled with, is the wrestling pace. Guys that will put pressure on him. It's always something that he's been struggling with, and that's a reason why I bet on Belal there as the underdog. Jack Della, on the other hand, not a guy that is going to shell up to the pressure. He likes to be in the pocket. He likes to be in that dogfight. He likes to be in that close range, and he has more natural abilities, I would say, than Belal Muhammad. Natural gifts come in power, in grit. Like, the guy is, I think he has some of the nicest combos. I think Topuria has the best boxing in the UFC, but you watch Jack Della in an MMA fight, you see some real nice boxing. And Topuria talked about it on Rogan's podcast when it comes down to the combinations that guys throw in MMA. They usually throw a 1-2 or 1-2-3, but they never follow it up with 2 or 3 more punches. Jack Della's that guy that will follow it up with 2 or 3 more punches, and that's how you get knockouts in the UFC. I think Barriault is going to have to be on his P's and Q's, because if Jack Della can defend a couple takedowns and start to get downhill on Barriault and he's having to shoot off his back foot, it's not going to go well, because Jack Della's boxing and pressure is nasty. And I think Jack Della can get this one done. I really do. I got to look at it more, but, you know, when the fight got announced, I think Jack Della is, I think he's so good. If he can keep the fight on the feet, I think he can compete with anybody and win against anybody. Now, obviously, his last fight against Gilbert doesn't look good. You look back at it, and he's getting grappled up for a good amount of the fight, but I thought Gilbert had a great game plan. A great game plan of don't really give him anything as far as boxing exchanges. Be effective from the outside. Use your movement from the outside, and then look to clinch and look to take him down. And I thought he executed it really well, and he actually would have won the fight had he not gone for that finish where he fell off and then got back up to his feet, caught the knee, and got knocked out. So there is that. I think Jack Della is a 5-round fighter, because he's one of those boxers that likes to build into it, kind of wear you down with these combinations and put pressure on you. So I think he's a 5-round fighter. So in the 3-round fight, he would have lost had he not gotten that knockout. But in a 5-round fight, we don't know what would have happened in those next couple rounds. So it's a long-winded breakdown, but I'm just kind of getting all my thoughts out there. I think there's a lot of upside for Jack Della as a plus 200 underdog. I'll just say it how it is. Belal Muhammad's almost 37 years of age. I know I said it at the top of the show. He was the second fighter in the UFC to become or to win a title fight over the age of 35, and the weight class is 185 pounds and below. The one before that was Tyron Woodley at 170. So he won one. This is going to be his second over the age of 35. Almost 37. He's been knocked out before. He's been knocked out by good boxers, like he got pieced up by Jeff Neal. He got knocked out by Vicente Luque. I think the hands of Jack Della is going to be a big factor here. If he's has any type of brain, he's been working his takedown defense the entire camp, and I think Jack Della is going to get this one done. He'll be my early pick. Like I said, though, I got to look at it a little bit more, but the upside at plus 200 on a guy that dangerous, I think I got to go with Jack Della. He'll be the early pick. That's going to do it for the video this week. The early picks video is in. We got the live breakdown coming to you on Tuesday night. We'll have the official picks on Wednesday. Best bets on Thursday. And we missed the Long Shots Only live show last Friday. Sorry about that, but we're going to be back, of course, this week for UFC 315 Friday night. Long Shots Only live show. It's going to be a great week. Pay-per-view fight week. Awesome stuff. I appreciate you for watching. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Till next time, hey, Job Picks.